right, guys, welcome back to another video. We have a lot to talk about again today. Let's just jump right into it. So we got to talk about this. The infamous PlayStation 5 SSD and Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. We know this game came out in 2021, and in 2021, before it was released, we had Insomniac coming out and essentially saying the only way this game was able to run was on the PlayStation 5 because of the super fast SSD. Throughout this generation so far, we have seen PS5 does have a fast SSD. It's overall faster than the Xbox's SSD. We've seen loading comparisons between games, and the difference really isn't that big. I mean, there are even games on Xbox that load faster. It really comes down to the optimization and the utilization of the SSD itself for it to have an advantage. But when it came to Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, they had the warping parts of the game where you would go to different sections, you'd pull in parts of the level and jump through a warp hole, all that type of stuff that they said they needed a PS5 SSD for it to actually work. Now, as soon as they did that, people were skeptical. They were wondering, could this still run on a slower SSD? Could this run on a hard drive device? And we now know the answer to that is yes. I mean, it's 2023. The game is now out on PC, and in the minimum specs for the game on PC, you can play this game on a hard drive device. And Digital Foundry did their analysis. They tested this game out on a PS4, on the PS5, and then a very high-end spec PC. And it has a lot of people talking about the results. Now, this is, first of all, what they say here. They say, yes, I really did install Ratchet and Clank onto a 2013 launch PS4 hard drive, hooked it up to the recommended min-spec PC at very low settings, and this happened. And you can see here on the video, as they're going through the hole, it slows down. There's a huge slowdown here, and as the warping is happening, one of the main reasons here is because of the fact that it's running on a 10-year-old hard drive on a PS4, a very slow hard drive compared to some of the current day standard of hard drive devices that you can get. John Lindman says, our first look at Ratchet on PC, it has a few issues, but it's overall in good shape. Infinitely better than The Last of Us Part 1 and Jedi Survivor at launch. The funniest bit is when Rich tried running the game off an actual PS4 hard drive on a machine just above min spec. Now, people took this one scene here essentially and are now saying that Insomniac is owed an apology and that they didn't lie essentially about the game not being able to run on anything but the PlayStation 5. Now, we can go down here. This is a tweet from Digital Foundry that it seems like everybody's actually ignoring, which kind of gives a better overall look at the truth of the matter when it comes to this situation. They say here, do bear in mind that this is a 10-year-old 5400 RPM laptop HDD. Newer 7200 RPM plus desktop HDDs are far faster and the game works okay there. On the flip side, cross-gen game developers still need to accommodate this ancient drive. So this here isn't, with the fact that it's not able to run properly on PS4 isn't taking away from the fact that they said it could only run on the PS5 SSD and that it couldn't run on a hard drive device. It is clear here from this tweet here from Digital Foundry that it can run on a hard drive device. And in fact, Insomniac even put it in their min specs that you could run this game on a hard drive device. Obviously a faster one, but it can be done. And if we take a look here at what Insomniac actually said, which caused all of this debate in the gaming community when it came to the SSD, this is a quote here from the creative director, Marcus Smith. This was back before the game was released. He says, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is a game that utilizes dimensions and dimensional rifts, and that would not have been possible without the solid state drive of the PlayStation 5. The SSD is screamingly fast. It allows us to build worlds and project players from one place to another at near instantaneous speed. So that obviously isn't truthful. It can be done on hard drives, SSDs that are not the PS5 SSD, slower ones than the PS5 SSD. And on top of that, we also know that Ratchet and Clank has now been Steam Deck verified and that it can actually run off of the SD card, which again puts an end to this narrative that you needed a PS5 SSD to run this game. Now, I'm going to be fair. I put this tweet out here because I saw a lot of people talking about the fact that it can't run on a hard drive because of the fact that Digital Foundry put out a version of it running on a PS4 10-year-old HDD, and then completely ignoring the tweet right after that saying that it can run on a hard drive device. And if you look at it in that sense, Insomniac wasn't telling the truth back when they said they needed the PS5 SSD to run this game. Is it really bad, this lie that they did here? I don't think so. I think the reality of the situation is this game was released in 2021. This was one that was here to push the PlayStation 5 forward. It was a marketing game. It was something that they could go out there and say, pick up a PS5 now because these are next gen features that you're not going to be able to get anywhere else. Go ahead and play it. They didn't release it on the PS4, and they needed to tell people that the reason why this isn't coming onto the PS4 and why you should go get it in PS5 is because we have this super fast new piece of technology that you're not going to get anywhere else. And that's honestly something you see across the entire industry. I mean, Xbox does this, Nintendo does this. This isn't some nefarious thing that Insomniac was trying to do. But the discussion as to whether Ratchet and Clank can run on something other than the PlayStation 5 SSD has now completely been debunked. And you could say maybe it's because the technology has advanced over the last 2 years where they've been able to optimize it better to run on stuff slower than the PS5 SSD or not. Doesn't really matter what it is. The fact is that the secret sauce of the PS5 SSD was a huge selling point for them to market their technology and to market their console. And now going forward, you can really take that with a grain of salt if they ever say they need the PS5 SSD to run it, because we know that won't be the case. I mean, we even saw this when it came back 2 years ago, where there were reports coming out that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart could have been done on the PS3. Now, this is just coming from a developer saying this. I don't believe they actually tried to get it to run on a PS3, but this is the developer Burden releasing a video on his coding secrets, and it's John Burden, the founder of Traveler's Tales, and a developer known for the games in the Lego series. And this is what John Burden says. Obviously, it would be very difficult to put an entire scenario like the ship or the shop in Dimensional Leaps, but you can see that Pocket Dimensions have more basic graphics and use the same generic objects. Burton said that the dimensional jumps work more like cutscenes and there is no choice. They are often scripted and the interaction gameplay with them is quite limited, would have great action sequences. He says here in terms of using other hardware that this was running on a PS3 for 2 generations. And he says, anyway, this is a quick look at the secret code that could allow Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart to run on pretty much any console of the last decade, not just the PS5. So right away, when they made that claim that you needed a PS5 SSD to run this game, you had people trying to explain why this probably isn't the case. So there you have it. You don't need a PS5 SSD to run this game. You can run this game on your PC, you can run this game on your Steam Deck, but I don't think Insomniac here was being super nefarious in terms of saying that it is the same thing with all of the marketing that we see pre-release of these consoles or at the very beginning of their life cycle to try to get a big install base to start off because of these next gen technologies that you don't have in the previous generations. Now, we will jump over here to Xbox and the new Xbox home screen that is finally rolling out to all users. And I've been using this for a couple of weeks now, and it's a brand new home screen. They take down the tiles. You can see the background of the game that you're playing. As you scroll through each tile, the background will change. It is extremely nice. They also have that new bar at the top of the UI where you can search right away, Game Pass, all of that type of stuff. You can see a picture of what the UI looks like here. It's a really nice UI compared to the previous one. I think they actually did a very good job. If I had it my way, I probably would have even reduced the second row of tiles even more, made them smaller so you could see more of the background. But I understand that they need to have something in there for the advertising of products, of games, of Game Pass, all the types of stuff. That's why those are bigger tiles. So here is the UI. It has come out to everybody. It's been in the program since early May. So if you were in the alpha skip ahead program on your Xbox Series X, you were probably already looking at it. But these are the features, I guess, to sum up what you'll be getting with this new UI. It says the movement of the library, Microsoft Store, Game Pass, search and settings options to a quick access menu at the top of the screen, the thing that we highlighted here. As you see, I think that's actually really nice what they did, just minimalistic and just sleek with the way that the background looks. It says here, putting recently played games and other content and apps towards the bottom of the screen, creating more space for a personalized background. And then this part here, honestly, if you haven't use this UI yet, once you start using it, you will, I think, really enjoy the fact that as you switch through your apps in that first row, the background changes. It's dynamic. It just kind of represents what you're going through, and I like it a lot. It says here, the addition of an option to change the background to match the game being highlighted in the recently playlist, the improvement of game discovery by introducing personalized lists of games curated for the player, allowing players to pin favorite games, curated groups, and system groups like quick resume to home, an updated friends and community updates row, which helps players find what's going on in their community, and a watch and listen spotlight showing which media apps and content are available. So there you have it. Turn on your Xbox. You should be getting a download now to update it to get this brand new UI. And then when it comes to another feature that Xbox is adding in here, they are now adding Venmo to new Xbox games. Microsoft is partnering with PayPal to bring Venmo to support the Microsoft Store and the Xbox Store. It says Microsoft is allowing Xbox owners in the US, so you have to be in the US, of course, for this, to use Venmo as a payment option for games, movies, TV shows, and apps from the Xbox Store. The new Venmo option can even be used for Xbox Game Pass subscriptions with the ability to split payments. So if you're looking for another payment option, that is going to be available now via Xbox. I probably won't really use Venmo. I don't even know if it's available, to be honest, in Canada. I do use PayPal on Xbox. That is available in Canada, but Venmo is something out there that obviously is popular in the US, and people are now going to be able to have access to it. And then let's jump over here. Let's talk about Ubisoft. Now, we talked about Ubisoft yesterday as well, with the whole Ubisoft store thing, them closing off accounts, that being clarified, that it looks like now they actually aren't closing accounts that own games. And one of those games that was new in the Ubisoft lineup that I absolutely loved when it came out, and I was really hoping for more, was Immortals Fenyx Rising. I was hoping they would put a sequel out, because this is one that I don't think nearly enough people played. You could tell by the price drop on it really fast. It's extremely cheap, but it is honestly extremely fun. Open world, fun action, all that type of stuff. Definitely go check it out. And the other day, there were rumors that they were canceling a potential sequel to this game, and that obviously is very disappointing for somebody like me or people out there who are a fan of Immortals Fenyx Rising. But now they've updated this story, and it says that Ubisoft confirms it's reallocating some creative teams and resources within the Quebec studio. So what this means, they've responded to the story saying that they are reallocating some of their creative resources. They say, as a part of our global strategy, we are redirecting and reallocating some creative teams and resources within the Quebec studio to other unannounced projects. The expertise and technologies these teams develop will serve as an accelerator for the development of these key projects focused on our bigger brands. We have nothing further to share at this time, which I guess after reading that, they're looking to focus more on their bigger brands. The likelihood that Immortals Fenyx Rising will be getting a sequel anytime soon is very, very low. We've kind of seen what Ubisoft is going towards right now, which I'm happy but kind of disappointed at the same time, is the Assassin's Creed series. I love Assassin's Creed. It's one of my favorite franchises, to be honest, and they're going hard on that with the amount of games they are releasing for it. But because of that, they're clearly taking away a lot of resources from newer IPs like Immortals Fenyx Rising, which I think if they put out a second game, maybe invested a bit more in it, maybe marketed it more, you would grab a lot of people to jump in, play it, and then just see how good it is. I mean, it really was an incredible experience that completely blew me away. I was not expecting it to be as fun as it was. And I don't know why people didn't play it. Maybe just because it's a name they didn't recognize. Maybe they didn't like the graphic style. They thought maybe it was too kiddie or something. I'm not sure. But if you haven't checked it out, I would definitely recommend going and check out the first one right now to see if it's a game that you will enjoy playing. And then finally, we have this. Sega, they have received regulatory approvals for their recommended cash offer for shares and options in Rovio Entertainment. We know Rovio Entertainment is known for games like Angry Birds and their mobile games. And this is honestly lining up very perfectly to everything we've been hearing with the strategies going forward in the gaming industry, but also in Xbox's strategy, which is trying to get more into mobile game. I know I keep talking about Sega and potentially Xbox with the acquisition. It's all because we saw that Sega was up on their list as a potential acquisition during the Xbox Activision Blizzard documents that did come out. And I think it just makes a ton of sense. And maybe it's even more enticing now as they get their recommended cash offer for the shares and options in Rovio approved. with the mobile side of gaming, knowing that Xbox is really picking up Activision Blizzard for King, for Call of Duty Mobile, for games like Diablo Immortal, and just the overall mobile side of gaming, so that they can create a mobile store in gaming to compete with Apple and Google. It just kind of makes even more sense now, I think, if you're Xbox looking at a potential future acquisition, to try to get Sega with an investment like this. So cool to see that it got approved, and we'll see what this does for Sega and how this improves their business and all that type of stuff, as they also see that the future, if they want to continue to grow with their big AAA stuff and their bigger games, they got to invest in mobile, as it is the easiest in to people to get their money basically for playing games, because everyone has a phone in their pocket. We go down here into the comments, and this person says just in time for Microsoft to come in and buy them. If that's what Xbox is teasing with the hedgehog and all. And again, the hedgehog thing the other day seemed like another tease, but it may have had nothing to do with it. This person says this feels like an easy way for Microsoft to acquire both. This person says, I'd imagine a world where you own King and Rovio, it gives you a pretty solid start in the mobile space. So we'll see what happens. This probably ends up meaning nothing. Maybe Sega is just trying to go out there and expand themselves, not for an acquisition in the future, but just to stay independent. But I will leave the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you are new here, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
Wow.